Cherokee Nation Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. won re-election to another 4 years by a comfortable margin recently. It comes as the tribe faces a number of important issues. Chief Hoskin is with us this morning. Thanks for coming in, Chief.
Good to be here.
You know, so 4 more years you were elected to by a comfortable margin. Inauguration is in August. This is your final term because of term limits.
Correct.
What are your big plans? What do you hope to be your legacy left behind?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the Cherokee people giving me and Deputy Chief Brian Warner another term. To your question, we have a lot of projects that were already in the making that we have to see through. I think the biggest one has to do with health care, and that is completing what will be the biggest and I think best hospital in Indian Country in Tahlequah. I mean, this is a $400 million investment that I think will set the stage for better health care because of better access to health care for the Cherokee people. So that's part of it. Another aspect of healthcare is we are making the opioid industry pay for every penny of a great deal of healing in the Cherokee Nation. So that means we're going to have some drug treatment centers to build and complete in this second term. So in healthcare alone, we've got our work cut out for us. But the issues range from making sure we further language preservation plans, making sure we protect tribal sovereignty. I mean, that's always in order at the Cherokee Nation. Those are some of the efforts that we're going to undertake in the second term. And I know we'll have some new initiatives as well.
I do want to return to the tribal sovereignty point in a minute, but I want to talk about just top of mind storm cleanup.
Right.
In what ways has the nation been able to help your citizens, make it through? It's hot, no AC for some.
Right. Well, big and small. So we have a human services department that helps people year in and year out, or day in and day out. And I think when a crisis strikes, our human services department is particularly adept at being there for people that have needs. Just this weekend, I know we had a gentleman who needed a generator. Now, we can't provide a generator for everybody, but in this case, he had life-saving medical equipment that had to stay on. And our folks on Sunday went out and made sure that he could keep his equipment going. I mean, that's the kind of dedication that our staff has. And so we're continuing to assess the situation. We'll see how we can work with state and local partners. But sometimes it's just Cherokees rolling up their sleeves and helping that neighbor with cleanup. We're seeing that, and to the extent we can support that, we need to.
I wanted to kind of pivot before we get to the tribal sovereignty piece of the Supreme Court about the car tag license. Can you kind of explain what's going on here? Because the story itself was kind of confusing to me. So the governor vetoed it, and you're hoping that the legislature will override the veto. What exactly are we talking about here, and why is it important to you?
Well, so fundamentally, we're talking about a compact, an agreement between the state and the Cherokee Nation that says we will issue our own license tags, but we will share some revenue. And the most important way we share it is for public schools. So that's the reason last year we gave over $7 million to Oklahoma public schools, because we have this relationship, we have this dedication to public education through our car tag program. That's at jeopardy if the governor does what he's proven he will do, which is abandon compacts. I think the governor just doesn't fundamentally believe that compacts are the way to go, that tribal governments have a role in the 21st century. Because I know that, I need to rely on the legislature on a bipartisan basis, which gets it, which understands that extending these compacts is win-win, not only for public education, but also public safety, infrastructure. So what we're asking the legislature to do is extend that compact for a year, get us beyond, right now at least, buy some time. We can always reevaluate compacts, but I think given the governor's track record, we don't want to go in with the governor who's proven that he would just as soon break compacts.
Do you think they will override the veto? What is kind of your feeling on this? Will they wait until February? Do you think it'll be a special session? What are you hearing at this point?
I believe they're going to override the veto this month, and we're working every day to visit with members of the legislature about why this is important. I mean, people in the legislature know that their local public schools got money because of the Cherokee Nation. People in the legislature know that we were there for police and sheriff's departments and E911 programs and ambulance services when they need us. They know we're great partners, and they know that ending this compact jeopardizes all of that, and I know they don't want to see that happen.
You know, News on 6 spoke with you earlier this week about the Indian Child Welfare Act at the Supreme Court, upheld in a 7-2 decision, letting the Fifth Circuit's decision stand is what the Supreme Court did. What do you view as the next potential challenge of the highest law in the land to tribal sovereignty?
Well, two things. One is an attack on the Indian Child Welfare Act could come again. I mean, the Supreme Court left aside a really important part of this challenge, which is challenging the law on equal protection grounds. In other words, reducing federal Indian law to a racial classification. The Supreme Court essentially left that undone or unresolved, and so that could come back in the form of ICWA. It could come up in other cases. I mean, the same law firms that were attacking the Indian Child Welfare Act were also attacking a law called the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, and this is in another part of the country where there's some litigation. But the claim is the same, which is that we no longer in this country need to provide justice and fairness for Indian country. That's a thing of the past. Tribes don't really have a role anymore. That sort of philosophy, that sort of mindset is still there. My concern is it comes up again in some other case. It could be in Indian gaming, but it could be in any number of cases. We're not waiting around at the Cherokee Nation. In addition to defending against that, we're leaning in. I mean, right now we're asserting our hunting and fishing rights. We're, as you know, asserting our right to a delegate to Congress. We're going to continue to not only be on the defensive when we need to, we're going to be on the offensive when it comes to asserting treaty rights. But all of it inures to the benefit of everybody because we're a government that believes in lifting everybody up. So that's why I think people are behind the Cherokee Nation in these efforts.
Well, Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin, Jr. of the Cherokee Nation, we do appreciate your time and thank you coming from Tahlequah to visit with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.